Today I'm going to be going over 8 fragrances that can transition you from summer to autumn. This time of year, we're still getting warmer days, but the colder days are creeping in. So I've got some sweet ones on the list. I've got some strong fragrances on this list, but if you want to find out about these fragrances, you know what to do. Just stay tuned. What is good, YouTube? Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mikey Cologne, and if you're tuned in, as always, thank you very much for doing so. That is right, today I've got 8 great fragrances here that will transition you from summer to autumn. Like here in the UK at the minute, it's well, the sun's outside, but there's a little bit of a nip in the air. So these fragrances can be worn on warmer days and definitely colder days. First off, I'm going to start with a fragrance from the house of Aaron Terence Shoes. There is loads of fragrances in his collection that could have gone in this list, but I've gone with Hard Candy Elixir. This is a great fragrance. I've got no test strips, so spraying up in the air, it is. Right, are you ready? Because this has got quite a lot of notes in it. You've got lemon, mandarin, sweet orange, lavender, mint, vanilla, nutmeg, tonka, strawberry, honey amber, sandalwood patchouli, MDMA, white musk, synthetic Tonkan musk, ethical ambergris, and 5% Thai oud. This opens up with a blast of freshness. That orange pops on my skin alongside a touch of that lavender and mint. And that is what adds this fresh quality up top, the lavender and the mint. But after about a minute or so, the strawberry starts coming in, the sweet honey with the amber. Now the fragrance starts warming up a little bit. Because of that honey and that amber, it really does add this warmth to the fragrance. And now the oud has crept in, but it's not very present, it's way in the back. But as this dries down more, the oud pushes through a little bit more, that Thai oud comes through a little bit more and more. It's not funky, it's not skanky, it just adds this extra layer of thickness, depth. It adds some richness to the fragrance. So you've got the strawberry, the honey, the amber, a touch of that oud in the back. You get traces of that vanilla and that tonka. As it dries down a little bit more, woods start creeping in, the fragrance starts turning a little bit creamy. Now that Thai oud has pushed forward a little bit more, and like I say, it just adds this heft to the fragrance, this richness. As it dries down more and more, the base is woods, the oud. You still get touches of this sweet, balsamic, ambery quality. Great fragrance. To me, it's unisex, this one is. Like I say, the oud is not skanky or anything like that. It's not off-putting. It's not like a full-on Middle Eastern thick, heavy oud. It's not. The oud here adds a lot of character and it beefs the fragrance up a bit. But it is a great fragrance. It deserves to be on this list, definitely. And that is Hard Candy Elixir from the house of Aaron Terence Shoes. This is great stuff. Coming up next is a fragrance from the house of Eccentric Molecules, and it is Eccentric 05. Right. The counterpart to this fragrance, so to speak, is Molecule 05, which is based on a synthetic note called Cashmeran. And that can come across smelling like woodsy, musky, a little bit earthy. And you do get them qualities in here, but this has a lot more notes to it. And to me, this is a little bit of a complex fragrance because there's quite a lot going on. So bear with me on this one. Are you ready for the note breakdown? Because it is big. Right, we've got fig, bergamot, orange, laurel, rosemary, basil, juniper, hedione, cypress, florals, freesia, iris, jasmine, mastic, isoe super, cistus labdanum, musk, and ambroxan. A lot of notes. When this first opens up, it's fresh, it's lively, it's citric. It comes across a little bit pulpy. There's a little bit of bitterness in there, which I think's coming from the fig. But then the fragrance starts turning aromatic. You get this herbal nuance that comes through, and that is the juniper berry. But it also puts in this crisp freshness as well. So it's bright, fresh, citrusy, aromatic. Then it starts turning woodsy. But while all this is going on, you get a little bit of a balsamic sweetness in the back, which just adds a little bit of warmth to the fragrance whilst staying fresh. But as this dries down, that ambery balsamic sweetness just turns up a little bit, but all the citruses are still playing. Everything just works in tandem. The isoe super, you get a nice dose of that. The ambroxan pushes through. To me, the florals in this fragrance, they just smooth the edges to me. Like, they don't make this fragrance feminine. They round the fragrance, they smooth the edges, they give the edges a little bit of a soft touch. This is a great wear. To me, this is an all year round fragrance. This will work great in the high heat, but on cooler days as well, this will work just as good. That is my own personal opinion. I think it's a great scent, and that is Eccentric 05 from the House of Eccentric Molecules. Coming up next is a fragrance from the House of Dior. Can you guess which one it is? And this fragrance is for cooler days. It is Dior Sauvage Elixir. This is strong stuff. Small bottle, loud fragrance. Just a little spray. Oh, it does smell good. It's got that fougere-ish barbershop style going on. A little bit of a throwback feel, but modernised. Right, you got nutmeg, cardamom, cinnamon, grapefruit, lavender, coumarin, licorice, ambroxan, patchouli, woods, and Haitian vetiver. Right, this opens spicy, bright, aromatic straight off the bat. Like, you get that lavender. The lavender in this fragrance, it's done so well, and it is the main player. There's no doubt about it. You get it up top, you get it in the dry down. Once that opening settles a little bit, that cinnamon and licorice turn the fragrance from fresh spicy to warm spicy. And that grapefruit up top quickly, it does come, it's like a dark grapefruit. It's not in your face, but it's there. It's a little bit juicy. It's a tad pulpy. And that just adds to the overall fresh quality of things up top. And then once you start getting into the mid, that is when the woods start amping up. The lavender is full throttle. The ambroxan is there. And the ambroxan adds a little bit of a ambery sweetness. Plus it adds a little bit of warmth into the fragrance, because it starts off fresh spicy, but then it turns warm spicy. Then you get a little bit of sweetness and the woods whilst the lavender is there. And once the fragrance dries down a little bit more, you start to get earthy touches from the patchouli and the vetiver. Like, they're there, but they're in the back. And then as it dries down more, the fragrance turns a little bit creamy whilst still staying aromatic. You get the lavender. So it's woodsy, aromatic, spicy, fougere-ish, got that barber shop style going on, like I say, and it does have, I wouldn't say dated, but it has a little bit of a throwback fougere-ish twist on it, but very modernised. Like I say, the lavender is the star of the show. Projection is massive, longevity is great. This is for when you want to make a statement. because if you want to be noticed and you're wearing this, or if you want to be noticed, wear this because it's loud. I mean, 3 to 4 sprays is really all you need. That is more than enough. Even a couple of sprays of it. This stuff fills the air and it's for dressier occasions. If you're going to a dinner, to a wedding, to a gathering, even to a party, and you're well dressed and you want to be noticed, try Dior Sauvage Elixir. It is a great scent. I had to put this on this list. It deserves to be on here. If you enjoy apple in your fragrances, you will enjoy this. This is Valentino Uomo, born in Roma, Coral Fantasy. Yes, that is a big ass name, but scent wise, this is very, very pleasing. Like, if someone enjoys fragrances in general, oh, they're going to enjoy this. Right, you got apple, bergamot, cardamom, clary sage, geranium, lavender, patchouli and tobacco. This has 2 sides to it. Right, it opens up fresh. You get a little citrus touch from the bergamot, but it's full on apple. The apple is the main player when this fragrance opens up. Apple's there in your face, juicy, fresh bergamot. You get some nice spice coming from the cardamom, and then it turns quickly aromatic. You get touches of the clary sage and the lavender. But as this fragrance dries down, to me it comes across a little bit woodsy, but then the tobacco warms the base up and it adds sweetness into the fragrance. Like, this tobacco don't really come across smoky because it starts out fresh and juicy. And then once it gets into the mid, that's when the tobacco starts coming in and the fragrance starts warming up and it sweetens up a little bit more, but it's warm sweetness. The spice calms down, but that apple still stays in the fragrance. It's very bright and juicy up top, but it just stays there. And then the tobacco, like I say, it warms the base up. Not overly complex, but man, does it smell good? Yes. And this will be great on cooler days and on warmer days. And that is Valentino Uomo, born in Roma, Coral Fantasy. Man, that is a big ass name. Up next, this is newer to my collection, and I've worn it a good handful of times, and I think this is the perfect time of year to wear this fragrance. It is coming from the house of Farmacia SS Annunziata. I'm not even going to try and butcher that name. I will leave it up. I'm going to pronounce it as Kuro Toscano. If that's correct or not, I do apologise. There's a lot going on. This is a complex fragrance. It is. This is not your run-of-the-mill. Oh, there's a lot going on. Right. There might be a bit of back and forth going on, but I'm going to try and explain it as best as I can because there's a lot of supporting notes in this. Right, you've got lemon, tobacco leaf, geranium up top. And then in the mid, you've got labdanum, incense, elemi, leather and patchouli. Then base is benzoin, amber, sandalwood, cedarwood and saffron. This opens up full on lemon. Fresh lemon, then with this slightly smoky, sweet tobacco. The geranium is there adding a little bit of spice because I'm going to say this off the bat. This fragrance, that lemon note that you get up top, that stays all the way through the life of the fragrance. You get it up top and even in the dry down, you can still detect lemon. But there's a lot going on around this lemon accord. So then, right, so you got the lemon, so it's fresh up top, a little bit smoky, sweet, and then spicy from the geranium. Once that dries down, the labdanum creeps in, so then the fragrance warms up and it sweetens up a little bit. You still getting the spice, the leather is there, and the leather just, it's never in your face. It just flows through all the other notes. It lets you know that it's there, but it's not full on. Like, this is not a leather fragrance, but like I say, you can pick it up. And it dries down a little bit more. Now, the woods amp up, the sandalwood has crept in. That elemi keeps the spice alive, plus it keeps that lemony nuance alive, like, because it can come across different ways. And two ways lemony can come across, I believe, is that it can give off a little bit of a lemony scent, and it adds spice. And that is what it does in the mid with this fragrance. But then as you get into the dry down, that saffron supports the spice. Also, it supports that leathery, suede nuance that you get running through the fragrance. And then the incense keeps the smoky side of things alive. Like, it's not a full-on churchy incense fragrance. It just keeps that smoky nuance alive that you get nearly up top. If it sounds confusing, it's because it probably is. But the main star of the show is the lemon. It stays through, even when it warms up. The fragrance, so in a nutshell, lemony, fresh, spicy up top with a touch of smoke. Dries down, warms up, turns a little bit sweet. The smoky stays alive, the lemon stays there. Then it dries down a little bit more. The woods amp up, the patchouli is there. The leather, the suede, the spice still stays. It's a great scent. It's a bit unusual. This is not your, that's why I said it's not your run-of-the-mill fragrance. I haven't smelt a fragrance that smells like this. It is, to me, unusual, and that means that not a lot of people will be smelling like this fragrance. Deserves to be on this list. I think this is the perfect time of year to be rocking this fragrance. It's too heavy for the summer, but for cooler days, it's going to shine. And that is Kuro Toscano. Great scent. We have one coming from the house of Xerjoff, and this is a great fragrance, there's no doubt about it. And for me, cooler days is the perfect time of year to wear this, and it is 40 knots. Look at that gorgeous presentation. This smells, it does smell really good, but it's not overly complex. Not to my nose it isn't anyway. And if you're screaming at me, that's fair enough. That's just my own personal opinion. This is a hefty price tag, but the way these are crafted, I mean, you pay for the presentation, you pay for the quality of the juice. They're all smooth fragrances. Right, these are the notes that I found for 40 knots. Woodsy notes, sea salt, green notes and cedar. What I get up top, this opens up, you get a blast of freshness, not citrus, just fresh. I pick up this salty nuance or salty facet, accompanied by woods. And in the back, there is a little bit of this herbal green touch. After a minute or so, I get this aniseed spice that comes through. And I don't know where that's coming from, but to my nose, it smells a little bit like aniseed. And it does have a little bit of spice to it. Now, after a few minutes, I do get this marine vibe very lightly. It only lingers between 7 to 10 minutes. But while all this is going on, that salty nuance up top, that calms down and levels out. And it sort of transitions from salty to marine. And then while you get that marine nuance, the fragrance starts warming up from the inside. And that sweet touch that you get, the fragrance just sweetens up a little bit. The woods, I wouldn't say the woods level out, but they're not in your face. And then this ambery, balsamic sweetness is there. And to me, that is how the fragrance sits. Not overly complex, but like I say, it does smell very nice. Like, this is for occasions, in my own personal opinion. That is what I wear it for. I don't wear this every single day, or I do not wear this fragrance around the house. I don't know if it's just because it's a beautiful bottle and the fact that it's a Xerjoff. I save it for occasions. Like if I'm going to a party or I'm going to a dinner, I will rock this fragrance. Longevity, 7 to 8 hours. It's got moderate projection for the first hour and a half to 2 hours. So it's above moderate sort of longevity and lifespan, so to speak. But like I say, it's got a bit of a hefty price tag, but the presentation and the quality of the juice as well. You pay for everything with Xerjoff. They put a lot into their fragrances, so to speak, or their whole house. They're a luxury niche house in my own personal opinion. And even the caps, look, they're solid. You've got Xerjoff round the rim. They're just solid, weighty metal caps, and the bottles are chunky and they look gorgeous. They really do. I love the presentation of Xerjoff. Anyway, that is 40 knots. Deserves to be on this list. This one, coming from the house of Hugo Boss, to me is a great everyday fragrance for a gentleman to wear. It is Hugo Boss, the scent Private Accord, the EDT version. The opening of this is gorgeous. Oh, I could smell that opening all day long. Right, you got ginger, bergamot, maninka, coffee, pepper, pineapple, cacao, woodsy notes, vanilla, patchouli, amberwood, and benzoin. That opening is, you get this subtle blast of freshness quickly, but it's all about this chocolate, and it literally goes from fresh to warm, chocolate, sweet, but underneath this is this coffee accord, and it smells, or it comes across like a brewed coffee, but it's not full on in your face. It's just lurking there underneath that chocolate nuance that you're getting. Once it dries down a little bit, the maninka comes in, and then that chocolate sort of takes a back seat, and the maninka comes across ever so slightly bitter, plus a tad fruity, obviously, because maninka is a fruit. This is when the woods start creeping in. Now the benzoin and the amberwood have started. They're sort of making their presence known. So the fragrance warms up as it dries down, turns woodsy, a little bit fruity, a little bit ambery, balsamic. You get vanillic touches as it starts to dry down. To me, the patchouli leans more on the woodsy side of things, and it might add a little bit of sweetness into the fragrance. But this fragrance never becomes, it's not an overly sweet fragrance. It just, like the warmth and the sweetness go together. And this does have a soft, spicy facet to it, especially up top. But as it dries down, that spicy facet that you get, that calms down with the fragrance as the fragrance calms down. This is a great, great fragrance. If you don't enjoy the note of coffee and you're off put by that, don't be, because in here, it's very minimal. It's minimalistic, the coffee is. It's more about the chocolate in the opening. But it just, as it dries down, warms up, it sweetens up, it turns woodsy. The pineapple in this, I can't pick it up. I cannot smell this and go, yep, I can detect pineapple in this fragrance, because I can't. The maninka, definitely, because the chocolate and maninka, they're kind of two of the main players in this fragrance. And the woods, once you start getting in the mid to the dry down. But like I say, the pineapple, I can't detect it. It's not fruity in that way, if that makes sense. But anyway, this is a great day-to-day scent. This would be great for the office. It's not overbearing, like it's not a heavy fragrance, not airy, but it's not heavy, it's not thick. It's got moderate projection between an hour and an hour and a half. If you overspray, you'll get a couple of hours out of it. But then it starts dialing down, and then probably by like the 3 or 4 hour mark, it's sitting closer to the skin. So you're not going to choke people out with this, but the scent profile is very, very nice. And like I say, that opening, man, it is to die for. But anyway, that is the scent Private Accord, coming from the house of Hugo Boss. Now we have one from the house of Gardenia Benesseri. If you enjoy patchouli like I do, you are going to love this fragrance. It is Woodstock patchouli. Man, does this thing smell good. Let me just spray it. This is patchouli in every single form. Right, you got patchouli, date, rum, plum, jasmine sambac, Indian patchouli, nutmeg, frankincense, Virginia cedar, Mayalian patchouli, musk, ambergris, and vanilla. Right, straight off the bat, this is woodsy, this is earthy. There is a little bit of sweetness up top, plus there is a little bit of freshness in there. And to me, that's the jasmine sambac doing what it does. Putting some freshness in, adding some sweetness. Once everything calms down a little bit, the fruits, the plum and the date, you can notice them, but they're way in the back. Like, this is not a fruity fragrance by any means. It isn't. It's woods and patchouli. But to me, they take the edges off of everything. The plum and the date stop the patchouli becoming overbearing, if that makes sense. They sweeten the load, and the jasmine sambac adds the freshness in. Dries down a little bit more. You get some smoky facets come in. The rum, right, the rum is very minutely. I mean, to my nose, this is not really a boozy fragrance. If you're looking for it, you can find it. If you're not, I don't think you can really tell, because you've got that fruitiness going on. That kind of overshadows the little snippets of rum that I'm picking up. Dries down, turns more woodsy, you get some ambery sweetness in there, you get some vanillic touches. It's just patchouli in every form. Woodsy, earthy, a little bit smoky. You get that little chocolate cakey facet that you can get from patchouli. It goes through all different stages. This is worth a go. I'm telling you, it deserves to be on this list. Great for cooler weather. Very masculine fragrance. Longevity wise, it's a good moderate projection for an hour and a half, creeping into the 2 hour mark. And then you get about 7 hours of longevity with it. Does last on clothes till the next day, so spray your garments, fellas, or spray it wherever you want. If you own it, rock it. Right, that is 8 great fragrances that will transition you from summer to autumn. Like I say, we get a mixed bag of weather, so to speak. One day it's warmer, one day it's colder. These are not full-on autumn fragrances. They can be, but they're transitions. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for your support. If you own any of these, drop a comment down below. I will always get back to you. And remember, people, smelling good's always a pleasure and never a chore. And I will definitely see you lot on the next one. Cheers.